U.S. Navy SEALs and special boat units are training other nations to fight a counter-drug war in the Amazon River basins of South America. For secret intelligence operations with no clear battle lines, SEALs and the special boat units have developed into an effective, independent riverine counter-drug force. This is one of the missions of the so-called Groundwater Navy.
Right now, the world situation is changing, and our relationship with the third world is evolving. And one of the things that we do as Naval Special Warfare Forces is represent the military with small people that don't leave a big footprint. So we're not really doing anything different to adjust to the New World Order. I think that the New World Order is making us a more valuable resource than we were before, because the focus is more on the things that we're trained to do.
We probably will not fight another war like Desert Storm again. I think a good bit of the third world learned, particularly in the Middle East, was that it's not a good idea to launch a conventional war against the United States, because that's our bread and butter type of operation. So we'll probably see a lot more smaller type of actions. It may not be amphibious work, it may be riverine operations. The next wars may be in Latin America and Central America on the river stopping drug trafficking, and they may have to adopt to that.
The United States is attempting to strategically reprioritize its military and national intelligence focus as a response to the wave of religious, state, and criminal terrorism throughout the world.
The kinds of terrorist groups that we're seeing emerge today, they are engaged in criminal activity, but they are also engaged in a kind of asymmetrical warfare against American interests. Knowing full well, particularly those that represent rogue states, that they can't confront us in a conventional sense. They're looking for ways to get at our people in unconventional ways. And that's why Special Operations Forces, particularly the Navy SEALs, are adept and available for that kind of unconventional threat.
Counter-drug operations have become an important special operations mission throughout South America. Criminal groups inside Colombia, Peru, and Bolivia routinely smuggle hundreds of tons of cocaine a year to the United States.
As we operate today and as we prepare for the future, as boundaries melt and we're dealing more and more with transnational threats, I think that increasingly Special Operations Forces will be operating in what I would call the seam between war and crime.
Yes, it's a combat sort of thing. Yes, we could obviously bring military capabilities to bear on the problem, but do we as a country want to declare war with the military might that we have on what is perceived at this point in time as a civilian problem? As soon as you start to interject a military solution on a civilian situation, you raise all kinds of issues that we have not yet dealt with. We need to be careful before we decide to go in that direction.
Over two-thirds of the world's population and economic infrastructure is located within 300 miles of the coastline. Using small teams of boats and men, riverine warfare is a potential battleground for clandestine SEAL-type operations. However, the political risks are many, the results unpredictable.
The buzzword is low-intensity conflicts, or conflicts other than war. These are wars that are short of actual shooting battles, where you want to send a small, deniable group in to affect some type of outcome. There's a big debate within the Pentagon over this, because the view there, and it was expressed by Colin Powell, the former Joint Chiefs of Staff, is that if the conflict was not worth enough to go in openly, then it may not be worth enough to go in covertly, and that small, low-intensity conflicts become high-intensity ones very, very quickly.
Potential SEAL missions have always involved political risk. Secrecy of movement is vital. Through constant training, SEALs and special boat units work to perfect insertion and extraction techniques, waiting for a call that may never come.
You need to take an overview of what we're trying to accomplish in the counter-drug situation. Do we want to interdict this 5 or 10 kilos of coke? Do we want to interdict those couple of 100 pounds of marijuana? What's the real role? My answer to those first couple of questions is probably not. We need to get at the source, and we need to get at the people who are organizing and who are paying the people to grow the marijuana and process the coke. If there's an example to be made and somebody wants to use the best forces that are available, again, we have to go to a much higher level that's going to authorize the use of American military in that role.
The SEAL reputation for undertaking risky missions can be a double-edged sword. Their tactics of sabotage and hit-and-run ambush are not always accepted as the American way to do battle.
You go in and neutralize the target. That's the accepted, politically correct word or terminology to use in this day and age. Well, when you say that, everybody knows what we're going to do. And to neutralize that target, you have, in fact, killed everybody within sight of hearing.
Hotel 5, this is 01. Roger, Hotel 5, 01. Request cold extract, primary insert point. No copy, over.
We do train a lot, and the day does kind of drag out sometimes, and training does get kind of boring once you've done it over and over and over, the same thing. But it's all about, you know, that pipe dream, it's all about waiting to go. And if you're lucky enough to be there when your number gets called, well, good on you, and that's what everybody's waiting for. Everybody here wants to do the same thing. Everybody here looks forward to going to combat. And that's the kind of people that I want to be around, and that's the kind of people that SEALs are.
Despite the volley of covering fire, SEALs and special boat units are vulnerable as soon as they make contact with the enemy. Their small size and remote areas of operation usually leave them out of range of friendly fire support. The weapons they carry are all they have to defend themselves.
It's very difficult to put what we do in a context that somebody who doesn't do it will understand. The context we do those things in is in defense of this country, in defense of this democracy. We do it at the request, only at the request and direction of the civilian leadership. Call that a commercial if you will.